this time of the year, the air pollution gets terrible across large parts of northern India. It's perhaps a little better this year. This has a lot to do with the rainfall that we've seen over the last couple of weeks. But the fact of the matter is that bursting firecrackers is something which results in immense amounts of pollution in the air. Air pollution in India, in our cities, some of the most polluted in the world. Every year we keep talking about this. Every year precious little gets done. Is it time to completely ban the use of crackers? That's the question we are looking at this evening. Joining us, G. Sundarajan, the climate activist and environmentalist, Malvika Trivedi, a senior advocate who represented the Siliguri Firecrackers Association, with us as well. Bhargav Krishna, fellow at the Center for Policy Research and co-founder of Care for Air, with us as well. Thank you all very much for being with us. G. Sundarajan, let me come to you first. Is there anything called a green cracker?
No, it's only greenwashing. There is nothing called as. Have you ever heard of something called as sweet poison? We don't have something called as sweet poison, right? So there is nothing called as green crackers out here. It is only greenwashing this entire air pollution. You know, Vishnu, the discussion on crackers is very important in these days now, especially after the AQLI report, which said the Indians are losing about 9 years of their life due to air pollution. I'm not saying crackers are the only reason for the air pollution, but it is a major contributor to air pollution during the rainy and winter season of this country. You know, out of the about 40 most polluted cities in the world, across the world, we have got 37 cities in South Asia alone, Southeast Asia alone. So, you know, India, Bangladesh, Nepal, all those places, and about 150 crore people live in this region. Not only that, the AQLI report clearly states that more than the HIV/AIDS, more than cigarette smoking, air pollution kills more people than any of these diseases. It is known that across the globe we lose about 1 crore people due to air pollution in a year, and we all know Indians are affected much because of the quality of air that we breathe. So I'm not saying that crackers are the only issue, but crackers belong to this industry of sunset industry, hydrocarbons, fossil fuels. Crackers are going to be sunset industries. So there is no future for these industries. We'll have to push towards.
Okay, Mr. Sundarajan, I get your point. Let me just put that across to Malvika Trivedi. She's actually represented the Siliguri Firecrackers Association in the recent past. The entire argument of livelihood versus the health of millions across the country. Don't you at one level feel that the right to livelihood falls apart when it's something which threatens the lives of people? How do you balance your legal concerns in this case and the science, because the science is quite clear?
No, actually I would not agree with that, because the very point that has been discussed in the Supreme Court is that the science is not clear on this issue. So as has been already said on your show a second before, that crackers are not the only cause, is actually a very correct observation. And therefore, after a series of arguments, discussions, judgments, orders in these matters, because these matters have been going on for some time before the Honorable Supreme Court and also before the Honorable NGT. Mm-hmm. After that, this balancing approach, it came into being, which was, as you just now talked about, the balance between Article 19(1)(g) and Article 21. So therefore, the court came to a conclusion that the green crackers are probably the way forward. And also then more developments happened in the matter, and the court came to a conclusion that wherever the AQI fell below a certain level, which was poor or even worse than poor, there will be a complete ban. So
but
it
Malvika,
is a very, yes.
If you can just clarify that one point. I know the Supreme Court said that if air is in the poor or very poor category, you cannot burst crackers. But how does any state government, city administration monitor that? You might have less than poor or better, air quality, relatively speaking, when the day starts. People burst crackers, it drops below the very poor level, and then what, you tell people, okay, now stop?
No, so Vishnu, there is a need to know the various orders of the courts I just now talked about, because you will see that studies were conducted, committees were set up under the orders of the Honorable Supreme Court.
Yep.
And actually, it was then realized that statistically speaking, the impact of crackers is quite minimal compared to so many other factors which were causing this kind of damaging and dangerous pollution. And therefore, they came to this particular conclusion that this is the best way forward. And green crackers, then all the exclusion of the various chemicals was considered. There were organizations who know their work who were involved. And thereafter, these logos were created, the QR codes were created. The manufacturers have to put those QR codes on the products. There is a scanning device. Now, this is the mechanism. Mechanism is in place. What was argued before the court was implementation. The executive cannot run away from implementation.
Okay, Malvika, you made lots of points. Let me just try and bring in Bhargav Krishna on that. Bhargav Krishna, one of the points that Malvika mentions is that it's not enough to just point all the blame at firecrackers, that it is a subset of air pollution in the country. Is that a fair argument?
Sure. Thank you, Vishnu, for having me. I think that's an interesting point to make. I think I was just looking back at my Twitter feed from the last few years, and I think 3 years and 4 years ago, I tweeted about the air quality levels on Diwali Day and the day after Diwali, and it seems that history is going to be repeating itself yet again on this issue. I agree entirely with Mr. Sundarajan's point that there is no question of any cracker being green, let alone it being healthy for human beings to use. On this issue of crackers being a minute source, and therefore we should not really think about it as an aspect that requires regulation. It's really remarkable. I think the fact that Ms. Trivedi also noted that there is really no health evidence that shows that extreme levels of air pollution affect health is completely false. I think my own study that I published earlier this year with colleagues from other institutions have shown that, especially for vulnerable groups, individuals over the age of 60, for instance, there's an almost 60% increase in risk of mortality on days of extreme air pollution, about 250 micrograms, for instance. There was also studies published by Maulana Azad Medical College a couple of years ago where they looked at increases in hospital admissions associated with days of extreme air pollution exposure in places like Delhi. And so this is, we keep coming back to this issue of, we don't necessarily have enough evidence to take action on this one particular source. But if the messaging around action across all sources is to be taken from the Prime Minister's speech today at COP, then we really should be thinking about how this isn't just one source that we're attacking, but rather this is a suite of actions that have been taken across different sectors to address various polluting sources. And this might be a relatively small one. And in fact, it actually provides a greater opportunity to make this a livelihoods issue where you're able to transition individuals away from this rather polluting activity that causes severe damage every year towards something that is more sustainable and that is economically viable for them as well.
Mr. Sundarajan, what the Supreme Court has said is to strengthen the mechanism to stop misuse, and only those firecrackers are banned which are found to be injurious to health. I take the point that you mentioned that there is nothing called a genuinely green cracker. To have less pollution or less polluting crackers, I mean, you're basically stating that they will still pollute and they are at one level still injurious. Be that as it may, the court has said that there cannot be a complete ban. Therefore, if one speaks about strengthening the mechanism to stop misuse, how do we strengthen it?
Vishnu, I'd like to mention something here. Diwali in India was never celebrated with crackers before 1950s, probably 1940s. We never had crackers filled Diwali before 1940s or 1950s. So Diwali was meant to visit friends, relatives with sweets, with the new dress, and make it a very happy with the diyas, with the lamps being lit in your homes. We never had crackers till the cracker industry started to flourish in the 50s and early 60s. That is when we started to have crackers. The second thing is, regulating something in India is very, very difficult. You and I know that. See, in India, genetically modified foods are banned. But we saw the case in Europe, in UK, which banned the rice from India because it had GM contaminated rice. So implementation in India is a very tough task. And in the whole world, India is the only country where we have crackers. In other countries, they got fireworks. And these crackers are not only meant to disturb the air quality of humans, but the livelihood of different species that live amongst us, the birds, the dogs, the cats, and many other species which we would not even thought about on how they get affected. I know a village in Kundangulam in the southern part of Tamil Nadu. People are not celebrating Diwali for the past 30 years. Because the Kundangulam has got an excellent bird sanctuary, and they have understood that bursting crackers will completely disturb the birds, their migratory paths, their nesting, and many other things. So we are approaching the issue of crackers only from the anthropocentric perspective. Actually, we should view it from a biocentric perspective. See, I agree. Thermal plants pollute, vehicles pollute. But at least there is a utility factor in that. I'm not saying utility factor gives you the prerogative to pollute. No, okay. I'm not saying that. But at least if you produce electricity, you go from one place to another. There's a utility factor in all those things. We have to bring down the thermal plant.
Okay, all right, fair enough. I just want to get Malvika Trivedi because I'm running out of time for a final word.
No, one thing that I would like to. Yeah, I would like to add only one thing.
Yeah.
See, we have been talking about livelihoods of the people who are involved in the cracker industry. Lottery ticket was banned in Tamil Nadu. At that point in time, 3 lakh people were directly and indirectly employed in that field alone. So they were re-employed with different skill sets and different things.
All right.
Likewise, we'll have to think about this.
All right. Okay, you make your point about re-employment. We haven't gotten to that as yet. Malvika Trivedi, what is the signal that people are sending with this discussion? When you say that, look, this is just one source of pollution or one source of air pollution, you may be entirely correct in that. But on Diwali, suppose you and I and millions in this city wake up with 500 on the gauge as far as air quality and the air quality index is concerned. If it crosses over to more than 1,000, as we've seen on several days when meters start working, aren't we essentially hurting ourselves? Not just Diwali, any festival where we are harming ourselves.
So yes, exactly. You've made the point that I was going to make, Vishnu, that it is all very well to talk about, Diwali and crackers, and that was not the system. I remember from my childhood, crackers was always the system. Be that as it may. I'm only saying that if we are talking about the pandemic and the impact of crackers, so on and so forth, you have to actually see which are the other activities. There are several congregations that happen because of festivals. The pandemic was there. So many festivals have not been stopped. There are various other celebrations. There are various other activities.
But Malvika, it shouldn't be this festival versus another. It's all wrong. All air pollution is wrong.
No, not just about air pollution, but even talking about COVID, even talking about the pandemic, the way the crowds have happened in our country. So therefore, why? But why was this allowed? It was allowed because of livelihood of people. That cannot be a small issue. Okay. The livelihood of people is not something minor that you have to completely discount that. We are talking about 30-40 lakh families here. So of course, as my friends observed here, that maybe then it has to be slowly changed. The direction has to go elsewhere. But it can't be a switch on, switch off mechanism right now. And
Malvika, we've been discussing this for ad nauseum for years. It's hardly switch on, switch off. We failed to switch off, for years. We keep discussing it.
Therefore,
we keep hurting ourselves and our lungs.
No, it was argued ad nauseum in court. The court has come to a conclusion in a series of orders. This is not a new order that has been passed yesterday. This order has been a continuous order balancing the interests of various people. So therefore, this order that came yesterday was a continuation of the orders that have been passed after discussing all the points made today on this forum.
All right, Malvika, you sort of you defend what the court has done, as I'm sure you rightly should. But I'm sure you would agree that we need to protect ourselves a lot more with air pollution. I don't think that is it at all in question. I'd like to thank you all very much for being with us. But certainly, what can be done to ensure that we are more protected? This is an annual scourge which takes place. It's something that's just not going to go away at this rate. Questions on coup for us. Sufi Lucifer says the ban means a complete ban. Why only on Diwali? Why do we focus on short-term goals? Rajesh says celebration can also be done with non-polluting and noiseless crackers like green crackers. But I think we've been asking whether green crackers are genuinely green. We're going to take a short break. There's more coming up.